Neuroscience, also called neuroscience, studies how the nervous system develops, its structure, and its functions. Neuroscience examines the structure and function of the human brain and nervous system. Neuroscientists use cellular and molecular biology, anatomy and physiology, human behavior and cognition, and other disciplines to understand the brain at a detailed level. Many researchers use the terms neuroscience and neurobiology interchangeably. However, neurobiology focuses specifically on the biological aspects of the nervous system, while neuroscience covers all aspects related to the nervous system, including its development, structure, function, and disorders. Today, neuroscientists work in a broader range of areas than before. They study the cellular, functional, evolutionary, computational, molecular, and medical aspects of the nervous system. This includes investigating how nerve cells communicate, how the brain processes information, how the nervous system changes over time, and how to develop treatments for neurological disorders. Humans have around 100 billion neurons, or brain cells, each with about 1,000 connections to other cells. One of the major challenges in modern neuroscience is to map all the networks of cell-to-cell communication, brain circuits that process all thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This comprehensive map is called the connectome. The brain's ability to form new connections and neuronal circuits, known as neuroplasticity, is the basis for all learning and adaptation. How neuroscience helps us understand the mind and brain. Just as computers are hardwired with electrical connections, the brain is hardwired with neural connections. These connections link its various lobes and connect sensory input and motor output with the brain's message centers, allowing information to come in and be sent back out. One major aim of current neuroscience research is to study how this wiring works and what happens when it is damaged. New developments in brain scanning, such as MRI and PET scans, allow researchers to see more detailed images and determine not only where there may be damage, but also how that damage affects motor skills and cognitive behavior in conditions like multiple sclerosis and dementia. Neuroscience has expanded rapidly over the past half-century, with significant advancements in our understanding of the brain. However, much more work is needed to fully understand the neural roots of human behavior, consciousness, and memory. Researchers continue to explore how different brain regions interact, how neural circuits develop and change over time, and how these processes relate to mental health and neurological disorders. This ongoing research is crucial for developing new treatments and interventions to improve brain health and cognitive function. The human brain is incredibly complex, controlling everything from intellectual processes to routine and unconscious bodily functions. There are different areas of the brain, such as cerebrum. The largest part of the brain is the cerebrum, which is highly evolved and divided into two hemispheres. Each hemisphere has 4 lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital, each with many subdivisions. The cerebral cortex forms the outer layer of the cerebrum. Deeper structures. Inside the brain are critical structures such as the basal ganglia, amygdala, and hippocampus. These play essential roles in movement regulation, emotion processing, and memory formation. Primitive structures. Near the bottom of the brain are more primitive structures, including the cerebellum and brainstem, which are vital for motor control, balance, and basic life functions like breathing and heart rate. Cranial nerves. The brain has 12 pairs of cranial nerves that directly link it to muscles and sense organs in the head, neck, and upper body, facilitating sensory and motor functions. Ventricles and cerebrospinal fluid. The brain contains 4 interconnected spaces called ventricles which produce cerebrospinal fluid. This fluid cushions the brain and spinal cord against physical impact and helps maintain normal brain function. Central and peripheral nervous system. The brain and spinal cord together form the central nervous system, the body's command center. The peripheral nervous system includes nerves branching out from the spinal cord and brain, extending throughout the body to relay information and control functions. Neuroscience encompasses a wide range of research areas and subjects of study. Neuroscientists often work across multiple branches simultaneously. Here are the major branches of modern neuroscience. Cognitive neuroscience. Cognitive neuroscience investigates the neural mechanisms underlying mental processes such as thinking, perception, and decision-making. Researchers study how the brain supports functions like learning, memory, problem-solving, and language. This field involves examining how specific neurons and brain regions contribute to cognitive functions and understanding the relationships between mental processes and brain activity. Techniques such as brain imaging, e.g. fMRI, PET scans, and electrophysiological recordings, are used to explore how different brain areas collaborate during cognitive tasks. Social neuroscience. Social neuroscience explores how the brain interacts with social environments and processes. It focuses on understanding how social behaviors and interactions affect brain function and how brain mechanisms support social cognition. This field examines phenomena such as social categorization, empathy, and the effects of social isolation or group dynamics on mental health. Researchers use tools like neuroimaging and behavioral assessments to study how the brain processes social information and how social experiences influence neural activity. Clinical neuroscience. Clinical neuroscience addresses mental and neurological disorders, aiming to understand their underlying neural mechanisms and improve treatment methods. It encompasses research on conditions like depression, anxiety disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, e.g. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and developmental disorders, e.g. autism. Clinical neuroscientists analyze brain activity patterns, structural abnormalities, and genetic factors to develop better diagnostic tools and therapeutic interventions. This field often involves brain imaging techniques, neuropsychological assessments, and longitudinal studies to track disease progression and response to treatment. Developmental neuroscience. Developmental neuroscience investigates how the nervous system develops and changes throughout life. It explores both typical and atypical development from infancy to adulthood. This includes studying how brain structure and function evolve with age, and how these changes correlate with cognitive and behavioral development. Developmental cognitive neuroscience focuses on how cognitive abilities such as judgment, learning, and memory are linked to brain development. Researchers may use longitudinal studies to track developmental changes or experimental tasks to assess cognitive functions at different ages. Affective neuroscience. Affective neuroscience examines the neural basis of emotions, investigating how brain structures, chemicals, and networks contribute to emotional experiences. It explores how different emotional states, such as fear, joy, anger, and sadness, are generated and regulated in the brain. Researchers use techniques like brain imaging and electrophysiological recordings to study how specific brain regions, for example, amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and neurotransmitters, such as dopamine, serotonin, are involved in emotional responses. Behavioral neuroscience. Behavioral neuroscience, or biological psychology, examines how the brain and nervous system underpin behavior. This field studies how neural processes relate to various behaviors, including learning, perception, motivation, and emotional responses. Researchers use methods like brain imaging, animal models, and pharmacological manipulations to explore the neural basis of behavior. Key areas of study include memory formation, addiction, fear conditioning, and the impact of hormones and drugs on behavior. Behavioral neuroscience often overlaps with cognitive and affective neuroscience, providing insights into how brain functions influence behavior. Computational neuroscience. Computational neuroscience applies mathematical models and computer simulations to understand brain function. Researchers develop and use models to simulate how neural networks process information and generate behavior. This field involves creating algorithms and simulations to analyze neural activity, map brain functions, and interpret complex data from experiments. Techniques like artificial neural networks, which mimic the brain's interconnected neurons, are used to study how information is processed in the brain. Computational neuroscience helps integrate vast amounts of data to develop theories about neural mechanisms and cognitive processes. Each of these fields contributes to a comprehensive understanding of the brain and nervous system, offering insights into their functions, development, and impact on behavior and mental health. As technology advances, so too does our ability to visualize and analyze the brain's structure and activity. Modern tools like MRI, PET scans, and sophisticated computer models enable researchers to delve into the brain's inner workings with unprecedented detail. Despite the progress made, much remains to be discovered about the brain's complexities. The ongoing research in neuroscience promises to enhance our understanding of human cognition, mental health, and neurological disorders, ultimately paving the way for more effective treatments and interventions. In essence, neuroscience serves as a vital bridge between the mind and the brain, offering valuable insights into how we think, feel, and interact with the world. Through continued exploration and innovation, the field holds the potential to unlock new frontiers in science and medicine, enhancing our overall well-being and cognitive capabilities.